Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Welcome back. Let's take the conversation forward, everyone, shall we? I'm being joined now by a former senator who got elected twice to represent Adamawa State in the Senate. He was in the 1999 and 2003 class of senators in the red chambers. He was elected on the platform of the PDP. Then he ran the MQ Abiola campaign organization in 1993, which saw the victory of the SDP and Abiola in that election. Senator Jonathan Silas Zwingina joins me now live here in our Abuja studio. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. The problems, we've invited you to talk about Nigeria's problems, which of course I know some of these things that you have talked about several years. But let's take it away from what Afenifere, the position of Afenifere, first and foremost. We are not hearing for the first time, not only from Afenifere, we've heard from Chief Afe Babalola, like Chief Adeban just said, that there have been a lot of Nigerians who have given that position that we cannot go on like this. There needs to be a drastic decision. Do you believe or agree for the concept of a government of national unity or an interim government? Can we go into the 2023 election like this?
Well, thank you very much, Sean, and good evening, viewers. First and foremost, I would say that the decision or position of Afenifere, position of Chief Afe Babalola, and many others are valid, and they have rights to those positions because the democratic atmosphere provides for opinions here and there. And they have very strong positions, and I think some of them are important. However, we have to look at the context of the solutions we are bringing on board. It would appear that we have become fairly used to the military way of doing things. That most people think that if you want to do, for example, restructuring, you wake up in the morning, you announce a number of states. You wake up in the morning, you announce some solutions. In a democratic dispensation, the downside of it is that you just have to have patience, and you have to procedure, and you have to abide by a constitution. There is no way you can have a constitution and walk aside it and begin to talk about a government of national unity. Government of national unity usually arises where there's a total breakdown of order.
Are we close to such
of governance? No, certainly not. We have differences.
Scenario?
We have differences in opinions between the parties and among the groups. Those are valid, and every government has that. And I would say that it will not be a wise thing in an election year to be talking about a government of national unity. What we ought to do is to ask the political parties to take specific positions on all these issues and proffer to Nigerians options and solutions which will guide their choice of the next leadership in the country. And these are matters of debate. And I would say, Sean, that it is not just the opposition or other parties that are in opposition that are giving different opinions. Even within the ruling party, for instance, there are candidates and aspirants who have various ways and suggestions on how to resolve these matters. So it's not as if people are short of ideas. What we're trying to do is that we have an election coming. And the election is the best time, is the best opportunity for people to make profound choices for the nation.
All right, Senator, look at the position and the premise upon which Afenifere is making that recommendation. That says that under the President Muhammadu Buhari government, it has shown that the government is incapable and unwilling to tackle the identified problems, especially that of insecurity problems. And so they want a new government of national unity to midwife a new democratic government. How do you react to that?
The answer is simple. If you contest the ability of the current government or the president to handle security matters, fine. You go to the election and choose the candidate of a party that will give you these suggestions, and there are so many of them. The PDP has suggestions. Other parties have suggestions. Even within the APC, there are people with different opinions on how to resolve this matter. The issue of policy difference is not enough to have a government of national unity.
Do you agree that there is an incapability or incapacity of government and the willingness of government to tackle the issue?
That gives a reason for election. That is the reason. In fact, you have just stated the main reason for election, which is go there, convince the people that there is incapacity and get them to vote that government out and bring another one. That is a democracy. But you don't go and dismantle the entire structure because you don't agree with the way one side is channeling it. That is totally unconstitutional. It is unheard of. It is outside the constitutional practices in existence anywhere in the world. And this is not the way to run affairs. If you bring it down and you say government of national unity, I want to import Nigerians from outer space to come and run it. The same Nigerians you are complaining about here, you put them together to come and work on this. So it's better you take them to the election. These are election matters. And we should not confuse election matters, which will guide us to choose party A, party B, party C, and candidate A, candidate B. These are important issues about which Nigerians should reflect before going to the ballot box.
Do you think that we can go into an election like this?
Oh, there's nothing wrong. Oh, absolutely.
I very believe that Nigeria is not secure enough for us to go. That in fact, the issue of elections should be a second, thought. We need to resolve some of this problem before going to the election.
No. You can never resolve problems with that choice. An election is a part of choice. You can resolve these matters by putting in place candidates or aspirants in parties that go close to the suggestions you are making. If you say a government of national unity, someone is going to appoint that government. The ruling government or some other people who have influence are going to nominate the people, and you will start complaining again.
So you think
the important thing is let people decide.
Do you think that idea is extra-constitutional?
No, completely unconstitutional. Not even extra-constitutional. It's actually unconstitutional because you're going outside the ambit of law.
All right, let's listen, Senator, to Chief Afebabalola. He's a legal luminary, and perhaps there is no aspect of our laws in this country that he has not experienced how it was birthed or how he was inspired. Take a listen to Chief Afebabalola. He was one of those, or one person who moved to the idea of an interim government. He says 6 months before the next election. Can we have that? Take a listen to him.
Life is unbearable for the ordinary people. There's unemployment. Nigeria has become the capital city for poverty. You are unsafe on the road, you are unsafe in your house, you are safe on the farm. So those who are governing us have the duty to look into that. And I'm happy the House of Representatives noted that. We people, including my poor self, as far back as 2001, had been complaining about this constitution, which is a problem, cause of our problem. But those who are benefiting from it are not ready to amend it or to allow a new constitution. That was the reason why I said, before you go, which people don't understand, set up an interim government. Since you are not ready to do it, interim government can do so before an election, so that we can have new set of people in accordance with our constitution who can make Nigeria a better place and save it from drowning completely.
You heard what Chief Afebabalola says.
I heard what the respected legal luminary has said, but I am a bit at a loss as to the constitution is talking about. This constitution we are operating is essentially the 1999 constitution, and it's essentially the 1979 constitution. This particular constitution, except 3 clauses, was the constitution that was midwife by Chief Rotimi Williams as chairman. And the same constitution that Justice Udo Udoma chaired the Constitutional Assembly. The same constitution, nothing has changed. The only difference is number of states that has moved sometimes from 30 to 36. The other one is perhaps local governments that have increased, and one or two others. All other aspects of this constitution are derived from 1979 constitution. And that 1979 constitution is a constitution under Chief Awolowo contested an election. Nnamdi Azikiwe contested an election. They never contested the veracity or the validity of the constitution. They abided by it and contested the election with it. And it is the same constitution that we're operating now. Some people are saying the military brought it. This constitution was put together by politicians, by civilians, and presided over by learned jurists in this country, highly respected. And most of these criticisms we have had on the constitution, in my view, have forgotten to take account of the origins of this constitution. Secondly, this constitution has undergone some amendments, right from various democratic governments, one way or the other. You cannot amend a constitution by announcing in the military style a change in the order of doing things. You have to first and foremost present a bill to be discussed by the National Assembly, Senate and House of Reps, then forward it to the states and get the concurrence of 24 state houses of assembly, and then bring it back to the National Assembly, forward it to the president to sign before it becomes a constitutional amendment. And these have been going on step by step. But we are even moving faster than the United States did their amendment.
But I mean, a lot of those who are advocating for restructuring, because the question Afenifere has raised, posed, is that Afenifere is reiterating his position that restructuring of the Nigerian state must take place before the much talked about 2023 elections. Now, the question is that there are fundamental portions of that constitution that needs to be changed, altered.
Absolutely.
Totally. I mean,
present your bill to the National Assembly.
And the belief is that our problems today, the Constitution is not proffering solutions to them.
Wonderful, Sheun. Present your bill to the National Assembly. Everybody in Nigeria has a senator representing their constituency, member of a House of Reps, members of Houses of Assembly. Use them, pressurize them, guide them. Present it to a public debate.
But it doesn't look like it's working.
Well, it's not working because people have not been using those avenues.
Are you blaming the National Assembly?
No.
Because who do you think should take charge?
The National Assembly is the right place to have a constitutional discussion. It is the right place to bring an amendment. And if you have issues to be amended or you believe should be amended and have not brought them forward to the National Assembly, because the National Assembly has a standing constitutional amendment chaired by the Deputy Speaker at all times. Now, or the Deputy Senate President. These are issues that should be forwarded to the constitutional
Who
amendment
should take that responsibility?
Every citizen.
The blame has been put on the present government of President Buhari that is not committed. For example, the 2014 Confab report. I mean, the blame, you heard what
that is a wrong blame.
That is not taking action on implementing that 2014 Confab report.
That blame is not taking it into context. The Constitutional Conference was put together by a government, chaired by a president, which did not implement even one item of that agenda, and left it to the next government, which had completely no responsibility to it. So if you are going to set up a conference, a national conference, set it within your term.
Isn't it the same? I mean, they say government is a continuum. They say isn't it a same country that we are in?
A party system is a different matter, because this is a party policy.
But the problem of the country has not changed.
It has not changed, but you needed to do it early enough, and you needed to set an example of implementing some areas even of that conference. And secondly, you chose the people. They were all appointed. And they were appointed by the president, his ministers, the SGF, and other people. In fact, in some states, governors came to complain that the nominations they made were set aside, which meant that it would appear an entirely put together a system where the government was in charge of those who came. So those who were not part of that government are likely to feel left out. And you cannot hold an APC government responsible to implement a PDP conference.
Senator, if you were President Buhari today, and you have heard from Professor Wole Soyinka Chief Adebanjo, Chief Afefa Babalola, and they're saying almost the same thing. What and how would you react? What would you do?
Oh, there are many things that one can do. First and foremost, you have agencies of government responsible for all these things. You change the personnel and look around and find other people that may have different ideas of doing it. That is what governments do all over the world. You can do that. You can change the personnel. You can bring in new people. You can, because no president alone sits down and takes decisions. He is advised by a coterie of advisors, experts, and technocrats. You can do that. You can set up committees. You can do all of that. You don't need to throw the whole gamut of structure away just because you're looking for a solution. Because you may end up coming with a solution.
President Buhari is doing the right thing.
President Buhari is trying, but you may disagree with the way he's going about it. Therefore, you go to election, convince people, and let them give you a different government that you think can do what you want.
All right.
That is how democracy works. There are people who will disagree with the way he's going about it, and many have done that. The point I'm making is that this is the best opportunity to go to the democratic process and put in place an argument for other political parties, other political individuals to come forward, offer their suggestions, and have an election that will produce a government. That's what democratic governments do all over the world.
I'd like us to anchor on one of the issues that raised with Chief Adebanjo, and is that of zoning. He believes that the southeast region of the country should produce the next president. I know you support a certain aspirant in the APC, but what is your position, or what is your, how would you react to what Chief Adebanjo's position is on the issue of zoning for 2023?
Well, I think the issue of zoning is understandable. But we must look at the fact that the issue of zoning first arose within the context of the military era, and then the context of the crisis of June 12. Now, the way the zoning has been crafted now is looking like it is going to be almost by fiat. Zoning is a matter that should be discussed among political parties and arrived at within the consensus of political parties, and not to be forced or compelled on the political personnel or the individuals or government to enforce it. You will see that even the party that champions zoning, which is the PDP, eventually itself has virtually set it aside. Because those who are championing zoning have not canvassed for it enough, or with enough energy, or with enough conviction. And so it has not, it's a democracy, and it is what the majority of the people want.
But for fairness and justice and equity, do you think the Southeast this time around should have a
Well,
shot?
not only the Southeast. The North Central has not had. Even the Southeast had a president. The North Central did not have. Fairness and justice required that they too should have. Fairness and justice required that Northeast should have, although they had a prime minister. But I can tell you that fairness and justice, not just the Southeast. They are talking about it. They are right, yes, but North Central has not had anything at all. So it's even more in deficit of representation in government than Southeast. So if it is fairness and justice, the broom will have to sweep very far. What I'm saying is, all the rights of people who want a representation in government are valid, but we have to look at certain representation. Under the government of President Goodluck, the dominant zone in that government was the Southeast. They practically dominated 90% of the economy, completely. People did not complain. They gave them the right to do that because some of them were competent, qualified, and were appointed to those positions. But they did not scream to high heavens. Now, politically, there are also people from the Southeast and other zones who are everywhere. What the Southeast should do is that their elite should engage in discussion with other elites from the other zones with respect to the need for them to have a go at the presidency.
All right.
But even then, there is no president in Nigeria, including Obasanjo, who contested on the basis of being left alone because he comes from a zone of preference. When General Obasanjo contested, there were other people who were not from the Southwest that stood election with him. I remember Rimi came out and contested with him in Jos.
Yeah.
I was at the convention in Jos. Rimi contested. Later in the next election, there were other contestants from the North that came out, despite the fact that this thing had been zoned to the southwest. So there is no zoning arrangement that is going to preclude, because the Constitution itself does not recognize it.
Thank you so much, Senator Jonathan Zwingina. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.